In the year I ascended the throne, a soul from another world claiming to be a conquest woman appeared out of nowhere. She seized my body, expanded the harem, and obsessively stared at each handsome face. With a sneer, "What's the point of being a female emperor? Conquering the world is not as good as conquering men." Using my identity, she humbled herself, fawning over the men with cares and concerns, showing all the ugly signs of flattery. Until the conquest was declared a failure, I opened my eyes to see a young eunuch rushing in to report. "Your Majesty, Attendant Zhou and Attendant Liu are quarreling again. Please go and appease them. Kill them." What did you say?" "Zhou Shan and Liu Feiji, sentenced to death." I walked out from behind the bright yellow bed curtains barefoot, narrowing my eyes. "And you?" The young eunuch forced a smile. "Your Majesty loves to tease the servant. Right now, Attendant Zhou and Attendant Liu are causing a big scene. Please, Your Majesty, go to the Orchid Terrace and the Jade Hall. This is urgent." He looked directly at me so openly, with confusion in his eyes, but more impatience and resentment. "There's no time to lose. You must go quickly." A sword in its scabbard hung by the head of the bed. I shifted my dark eyes slightly. "Say that again."
"Ouch."
He let out an exaggerated cry, his tone carrying even more grievance. "Stop dallying, you know the consequences. Minister Zhou will surely go on a hunger strike again." And then there was Liu, a flash of cold light, blood splattering. I looked down at his contorted, agonized face, which was quickly overtaken by a terror that seemed to crush his very soul, while the other end of the long sword in my hand had already pierced through his throat.
Ha!
Huff. A subordinate daring to defy a superior, a reckless fool who doesn't know his place. I dropped the sword, stepping around his body, which was soon to be a corpse. A few steps forward, I saw my reflection in the bronze mirror, hair disheveled, ends brushing my knees, cheeks and chin stained with blood, eyelids half lifted, expression cold and stern. Yet my lips were coated with honey-colored balm, exuding a delicate, rosy allure. I reached up and wiped it away with my thumb. The balm had a faint sweetness, a scent I've never cared for. This is that seductress named Su Yue, who deliberately dressed up to curry favor with those men in the harem. For 5 years, my face, my body, and even my status as an emperor above all others, all became tools for her seduction tactics. Even so, because of her groveling, shameless behavior in pursuit of love, those 5 men not only failed to fall for her, but instead grew more disdainful of her, treating her like a plaything, until she failed in her seduction and vanished. I curled my lips, seeing in the mirror my own contemptuous and icy expression. A bunch of worthless fools.
Guards.
I wished to bathe and change clothes. Ripples on the water, drifting thin mist, soaking my whole body in the warm pool. Only then did I truly feel the sensation of being back in my own body. When Su Yue was occupying my body, I had been watching coldly as a wandering ghost, unable to live or die. Now that I have regained my body, it is no different from being reborn. I stretched my arms and lazily rested them on the edge of the pool, letting out a weary sigh. What a pity. Su Yue disappeared so suddenly that I couldn't kill her with my own hands. And also to restore order, dealing with many of the messes she left behind.
Shangun Kai.
Liu Shiqing. His Majesty is still bathing inside. All of you, get out of my way. I turned my head and saw a lake blue figure approaching. The young man's handsome features twisted with anger. Shangguan Kai, how dare you send the 6th princess to a political marriage? She is your sister. For your own selfish desires, you disregard sibling bonds and frame others. You are unworthy of your position. The throne should rightfully belong to the 6th princess. She is 1,000 times, 10,000 times better than you. Look at how Su Yue has spoiled people. Such treasonous words come easily to your lips. However, the 6th princess he mentioned was my half-sister, Shangguan Jin. She was elegant, gentle, and much loved. Su Yue always regarded her as a rival. She targeted her everywhere. Recently, when the border was under attack, she used that as an excuse to send her off to marry a foreign tribe. My mother was the first empress. That famous bloody coup in the palace allowed her to successfully ascend the dragon throne by stepping over my father's bones. The concept of female supremacy in the world was still shallow. The neighboring countries still maintain male-dominated rule and continue the outdated practice of imperial princesses marrying into other states for peace. Since our dynasty has no princess, Su Yue was delighted to push Shangguan forward. But she never expected that this decision would directly trigger the outcome of her failed strategy. Seeing that I remained silent for so long, Lu Feiji became even more furious. He snatched the whisk from a eunuch behind him and threw it into the bath, snarling, "Shangguan Kai, don't play dumb." The splash of water hit my eyes, and only then did I lift my eyelids to meet Lu Feiji's gaze. "I will not let her marry into another state for peace." "Really? Of course it's true. Not just Shangguan Jin, I won't allow any woman to do so. Peace by marriage is more of an insult. Su Yue is a fool, but I am not." I simply curled my finger at him, smirking. "You, come here." He was taken aback, then a familiar disgust surfaced. The air was humid. I was soaking naked in the pool, and his gaze swept over my exposed shoulders as he sneered coldly. "I said you wouldn't let the Sixth Highness off so easily. So it's me you want, to serve you?" The last 3 words were almost gnashed through his teeth. Lu Feiji walked over and knelt beside me, closing his eyes with an air of one resigned to death. His lips approached, but before they could touch, his head was forcibly plunged into the water. Apart from the 6 arts of a gentleman and the classics, I had also excelled in martial arts since childhood. Under my hands, the man struggled like a trapped beast, only splashing water in vain. After a long moment, I pulled Lu Feiji up by his hair, squinting slightly as I forced him to meet my gaze. "I have received the mandate of heaven and rule over all directions. When you see me, you neither bow nor address me by my proper title, showing no respect for ritual and law, showing contempt for me. Tell me, do you deserve death?" His handsome face was wet, flushed, and disheveled. It took him a while to react. He opened his mouth as if to retort, "Shang," but I pushed him back into the water. This time, I waited until the struggles beneath me ceased entirely. Unhurriedly, I stepped out of the bath and spread my arms. Maids filed in to attend to my dressing. One of them brought rouge and powder, curtsied to me, and raised her hand to apply makeup on my face. "Take it away. There is no need to bring out such things in the future." She paused, then obediently withdrew.
Yes.
The remaining maids exchanged glances. After all, Su Yue used to even apply makeup and powder before sleeping, placing great importance on her appearance. Just then another young eunuch ran over. Before he could speak, his peripheral vision caught the sight of a body floating limply on the water's surface not far away. The striking lake blue color made him let out a startled cry. I glanced at him from the corner of my eye. The young eunuch trembled and quickly knelt down, kowtowing. "This servant pays respects to your majesty. Zhou Shirlang sent me to relay a message, asking your majesty to visit the Orchid Terrace for a gathering." I flicked my sleeve and strode out with big steps. "Prepare the imperial sedan to the Orchid Terrace. The emperor arrives." The Orchid Terrace's main door was tightly shut. "Your majesty has come quite late. My master has already retired for the night," came the sarcastic voice of Zhou Shan's personal attendant from behind the door. "Pray wait a moment. My master hasn't rested well these days, so he might sleep deeper tonight." Deliberately leaving someone waiting outside was one of Zhou Shan's usual tactics. How would Su Yue normally handle this? She would anxiously wait outside the door, shower him with flattering words to coax him, and then send in endless gold and silver treasures, all for a smile from her beloved. How utterly foolish. This is my empire, my palace. I ordered my attendants to break down the door and stride in without a second thought. The young servant's eyes widened. You, how dare you just barge in? What if you disturb my master?" He spread his arms to block the way. "You're not allowed in." I raised my hand. "I said you're not allowed in, and that's final." The servant snorted. "What reward are you offering this time? I won't put in a good word for you in front of my master anymore." He raised his head smugly, only to be met with a sharp slap. "Tell attendant Zhou to come out and receive the emperor." You. The servant covered his face in disbelief, stomped his foot in indignation, and ran back inside. Sure enough, moments later, Zhou Shan stormed out with the servant.
"Shangguan Kai."
"How dare you hit Xiao Kuei? Next time, will you hit me too?" His gaze froze on my face. "Your face, it's atrocious." Zhou Shan's anger flared even more. Pointing at my face in great disrespect, he said, Didn't I tell you I prefer a more striking and colorful makeup? The next second, his rage turned into a mocking laugh. I see now. You're trying to imitate the sixth prince, pure as a lotus, serene as the moon. Do you think you can compare? Speak softly, my lord. His Majesty is in a foul temper today. He kicked down the gate of our orchid residence. Su Yue reported it in a strange tone, her small eyes gleaming with schadenfreude.
I said, "Are you done?"
Among these 5 men, he is the one I dislike the most. He has good looks but no talents, and his temperament is the most affected and pretentious. He was taken aback. Shengguan Kai, what kind of attitude is that? My attitude is to execute on the spot. I cast a glance back and said, "Go, kill them." Yes. The attendant guards drew their swords and stepped forward. Zhou Shan involuntarily stepped back 2 paces, his voice trembling. You dare? Both thunder and rain are imperial grace. I smiled slightly, my dark eyes deep. Even death, by decree, is a favor. Lord Zhou, why haven't you thanked me for the grace yet? My tone suddenly rose at the end. Zhou Shan's legs gave way, and he fell to his knees. His handsome face alternated between green and red, finally replaced by fear, turning deathly pale. The bright moon hung high. Blood gathered into a small stream, winding its way to my feet. I stepped back silently, sweeping my gaze over the eunuchs and guards behind me. Every one of them kept their heads bowed, but their calves couldn't help trembling slightly. For them, nothing is more frightening than a ruler whose temperament has drastically changed. My mind is at ease. After this experience, the imperial authority that Su Yue lost through her years of absurd behavior will be restored to me. Next, there are still many matters to handle. In the harem, 3 remain: Fongjun Su Xia and the 2 Guijun, Lin Mingyuan and Su Yuzhou. Their families are prominent and hold indispensable positions in the court, especially the Su family, who greatly aided my mother the emperor in seizing power. They rendered outstanding service in supporting her rise to the throne. Su Xia's mother now serves as the chancellor, second only to the emperor herself, above all others. And Su Xia married me as the principal consort even before my accession. Leaving the orchid terrace under the melting night, I changed my mind and went to the imperial study. Beside a solitary candle, a refined and upright man was reviewing memorials at the desk. His long dark lashes lifted suddenly. He put down the vermilion brush. Your Majesty, you have come. Su Yue was not adept at handling state affairs. She was simple-minded and had no taboo against the harem participating in politics. Apart from holding court, she left the rest, reviewing memorials, discussing government matters, to Su Xia. The imperial study was dimly lit, my face hidden in the shadows. I gave a non-committal hum, my emotions unclear. As I stepped forward to pick up the memorial, Su Yue's jade-like slender fingers pressed against the back of my hand. Your Majesty, these you cannot understand. If you wish to know anything, you need only ask Wuxia, he said, revealing a gentle smile toward me. I lowered my eyes to gaze at him. You have overstepped your bounds. Su Yue's lips stiffened. At such close proximity, he must have caught the lingering scent of blood on me. His expression shifted bit by bit into shock, and as he rose, he even accidentally knocked over the inkstone. Ignoring him, I picked up the memorial myself, opened it, and read it carefully. There was no issue. Even so, I said in a flat voice, you, my minister, must remember your place. Do not disrupt the hierarchy of superior and inferior. From now on, you need not come here. My affairs require no interference from others. I lifted my gaze. Su Yue stared at me motionlessly, his phoenix eyes wide. You are... He slowly knelt before me, lifted his head, his gaze docile and tender. My mistress, you have returned. I curled my lips into a smile and reached out to stroke his cheek, from his chin upward to his lips, nose, and finally his eyes. I wiped away the tears at the corner of his eyes with my thumb. You have always been clever, having served me the longest. I could ignore past mistakes, but from now on, what to say and what to do, you should understand well. Now the situation is fraught with internal strife and external threats. The internal strife is still up for discussion, while the external threat comes from the Shilin Kingdom on the northwestern border. Ever since Su Yue took power, she secretly diverted most of the military funds to the harem, weakening the border defenses. The Shilin Kingdom, which was already restless, seized this opportunity to launch an invasion. We were utterly defeated, losing 2 cities in a row. The shilling leader then proposed a marriage alliance, demanding that a woman be sent over. I rubbed my brow and sighed softly. The urgent task is to revitalize the army and cut expenditures. Everything still needs to be corrected step by step. Your Majesty, the old eunuch said as he entered carrying a bowl of lychee syrup water. He bowed respectfully. This is from Imperial Attendant Liu, who is concerned for your Majesty. He specially asked me to bring this sweet soup for you. I stopped writing, startled. Liu Feiji. Yes, your Majesty, the old eunuch said cautiously. It turned out that on that day, Attendant Liu still had a breath left in him. As he was being carried out of the palace, he happened to run into the sixth prince, who saved him. As for Zhou Shan, Attendant Zhou, his injuries weren't fatal, and he's currently recuperating. He originally wanted to report to your Majesty, but you've been busy with state affairs and refusing to see anyone. The sixth prince said that your Majesty had favored them in the past, and that this was just a moment of anger, to be taken as a lesson. Once this period passes and your anger subsides, everything will be fine. I was stunned for a long time. I had seen them go to their deaths with my own eyes. There was no way they could have survived. After thinking it over, I got up and asked where they were. Today was the monthly court assembly. At this hour, they should all be at the Phoenix Lord's Qixiang Hall paying respects. I decided to go there. The chatter in Qixiang Hall stopped abruptly the moment I stepped in. Su Xing at the front was the first to bow. With a clear and gentle voice, he said, "May the Emperor be blessed." The other 4 men quickly followed suit with their bows. "Rise, all of you, and lift your heads." I didn't know what Su Xing had said to them, but they were all exceptionally obedient. Lin Mingyuan, who is usually cold and sparing with words, now had a clear, sparkling gaze fixed on me. Su Yue was frail in body, his bright peach blossom eyes smiling gently like water. Meanwhile, Liu Feiji restrained his youthful spirit, his gaze cautious and faintly fawning. Zhou Shan's feathery lashes trembled. He didn't dare meet my eyes, still seeming to be recovering from fright. I furrowed my brow slightly, flicked my wide sleeves, and took the main seat. Propping my chin askew, I pointed at Liu Feiji and Zhou Shan with my finger. "You too, come forward." The 2 of them fearfully complied, especially Zhou Shan, whose voice trembled. I lifted his chin and scrutinized him with a heavy gaze. His complexion was rosy, lips healthy, not at all like someone who had just died.
Liu Feiji was the same.
Strangely, Zhou Shan's face was pale with terror, his teeth chattering, eyes wide open and streaming tears. I was inexplicably amused and laughed out loud. What is Minister Zhou afraid of? The tears in his eyes flowed even harder. Earlier, your servant was rude and offended your Majesty. Please forgive me, your Majesty. Your servant won't dare again. Liu Feiji's face flushed red, and he whispered, "This servant also knows his mistake. I have punished myself by copying the male precepts 3 times and will diligently learn the rules from now on. I beg your Majesty for mercy." His fingers moved downward, gently encircling Zhou Shan's neck. Feeling the wildly pulsating artery under my fingertips, I smiled and said, "I am no tyrant. My beloved consorts, it's fine that you know your mistakes. Keep them, there is still use for you." After staying for a short while, I suddenly felt bored. Just as I was about to return to the palace, someone called out hurriedly, "Your Majesty, please wait a moment." Then, Su Yue's pleasant and calm voice sounded. "Your Majesty has been laboring over state affairs recently and has not summoned the harem for a long time. Tonight, would your Majesty like any lord to attend to you in bed, to ease your mind and body?" I turned around. My gaze swept over each of them, finally settling on Su Yue. "Su Guijun, you may." Returning to the bedchamber, after dismissing everyone, I sat at the tea table. My posture was straight. I placed 1 cup in front of me, and 1 cup opposite. "You didn't die," I said, pouring tea and sipping it leisurely. "Su Yue, I know you are here." The air remained silent. Resurrecting those 2 fools must have been quite an effort for you. I couldn't help but sigh. Such an absurd matter could only be related to her. Although I don't know what method you used, I imagine it wasn't easy. I poured some tea into the opposite porcelain cup as well, and spoke calmly. "You must understand. I could kill them once, and I could kill them a second time, a third time. Can you ensure you can resurrect them every time?" Finally, an angry shriek sounded in my ear.
"Bitch."
I could only hear the voice, not see the person. She must have also turned into a transparent spirit. Let me make a deal with you. I ask you, who is the man colluding with Shang Guanjin? During my years as a wandering spirit, I occasionally overheard Su Yue talking to something called a system. I learned that the trigger condition for her strategy failure was when anyone's favorability dropped below 0. This shows that when she decided to send Shang Guanjin to a peace marriage, someone had reached an extremely disgusted state towards her. That person must have a special relationship with Shang Guanjin, and my imperial sister is far from as innocent as she appears. Trading? Su Yue is native. What benefits can you give me? None. I took another sip of tea. But I can kill people. Consider it carefully. Shameless. She sounded like she was going crazy, grinding her teeth. If I knew who loved Shang Guanjin so much, would I have provoked her? The damn system doesn't show specific favorability. Su Yue said bitterly. I originally had enough points to start over. It's all your fault for killing Lu Feiji and Zhou Shan, making me use up all my points. Then why did you hold back before? She paused, looking a bit awkward. I was thinking I'd leave for a while. Once they see your coldness and cruelty, they'll remember how good I was. Then when I come back, they'll fall in love with me easily. Quite a comeback plan. I let out a cold laugh. So she still wanted to snatch my body. What are you laughing at? A woman like you, cold and fierce, is the least desirable. Your Majesty, Lord Lin requests an audience. Su Yue was shocked beyond words. He would actually come to see you on his own? Lin Mingyuan was the only legitimate son of the Minister of War, a well-known pampered noble in the capital. Unlike the other 4, who were either arranged by their families or brought into the harem by Su Yue, Lin Mingyuan had actively requested to enter the palace. Even though he got what he wanted, he kept an icy expression all day, keeping Su Yue at arm's length. He was the coldest figure in the harem and also the hardest target for Su Yue to conquer. She thought for a moment, then said gloatingly, No, you act viciously and annoy people. He probably came to scold you because he can't stand your behavior. Relying on his noble background, Lin Mingyuan often gave her a cold shoulder, casually spitting out the word "get lost" at the slightest provocation. His temperament was utterly unpredictable. I ignored her and ordered him to be summoned. Lin Mingyuan had clearly bathed before coming, his whole body exuding a pleasant fragrance. The night was deep and dew was heavy. He removed his outer robe, revealing thin clothes underneath that clung to his form, muscles firm, a waist cinched by a belt, outlining his powerful and sturdy figure. It was obvious he had a great physique. He slightly bowed his head, his ears flushed red. Your Majesty, I raised an eyebrow in surprise. Lin Guijun, what are you doing? He bit his lower lip, somewhat embarrassed. Tonight, can I stay and serve you? Su Yue, I also showed a hint of confusion. Because, he said urgently, I have admired you for a long time. The first time I saw your Majesty, you were still the crown princess. A jade hairpin slanted in your hair, with an air of elegance and brilliance, your reputation for talent already unmatched. I thought then, this is true grace, like a forest breeze. He looked down shyly. So, I begged my mother to let me enter the palace, just to be by your Majesty's side. But after entering the palace, I found that your Majesty seemed very different. Your words and actions were hard to describe. It wasn't until the consort told us that your Majesty had been ill and changed temperament, but had now recovered. Today, I am fortunate to see your Majesty, and truly, your grace has returned. Su Yue's voice was a mix of frustration and despair. So, he can actually speak that much in one breath? What about all those years I licked his boots? If I'd known he liked this type, I would have imitated you from the start. It seemed only I could hear her. I couldn't help but laugh softly. I never knew you felt this way. But as he leaned in closer, his dark eyes were bright like those of an obedient puppy. I teasingly patted his head, yet lazily dismissed him. I've promised to spend the night at noble consort Su's place. You should leave now. The Rue Shui Palace was filled with a strong medicinal scent. Your servant thought your Majesty wouldn't come tonight. Su Yue wore a white inner robe, his face like jade, the epitome of a delicate beauty. He gracefully stepped forward to unfasten my clothes, his movements gentle. His cascading black hair brushed against my collarbone, stirring a thought in my heart. I took his hand, squeezed his palm, then traced my fingers up to his bony wrist, with a hint of ambiguity. He blushed and hurriedly guided me to the bed. Your Majesty, it's late. Let us retire.
Norus.
Have you been feeling any better these past days? You're still unwell. He answered meekly while cautiously observing my expression, then asked softly, Does your Majesty despise the sickness on your servant? I am quite worried. Your illness seems to be getting worse. I sighed, then changed the subject. I recall that in your maternal family, you have a younger brother who has already turned 16. Su Yue nodded, somewhat puzzled. Yes, your Majesty. Why do you ask? Then choose an auspicious day to bring her into the harem. She will take your place in Ruishua Palace, and her title will be decided later. But what about me? He blurted out in a loss of composure. I glanced sideways and said with a leisurely smile, Naturally, you will die of illness. Su Yue's breath caught. Then he forced a faint smile. Your servant is dull-witted. What does your Majesty mean? Or does your Majesty find your servant old and faded, utterly loathsome? I ordered a reduction in palace expenses, I said. The harem should set an example. Yet you, using the excuse of poor health, have repeatedly requested rare medicinal herbs from the imperial pharmacy, delivering large quantities to your palace. Your spending is even higher than before. His eyes brimmed with tears. Your Majesty finds your servant spends too much silver, but once your Majesty promised to cure your servant's chronic ailment. The one who made that promise to you was not me, but Su Yue. As the beauty wept, her voice immediately emerged, as if eager to embrace him and cry along. Good Yue, don't cry, don't cry. My heart aches for you. Shangguan Kai, you are a terrible emperor, stingy to the core. This is the crime of deceiving the sovereign. Here, in my presence, the lightest punishment is death, and the worst is the extermination of 9 generations. I leaned forward, eyes narrowed, almost nose to nose with him. Consort Su, how much longer will you keep deceiving me? He was stunned, a tear rolling down his frozen face and landing precisely on the back of my hand. Clearly, your pulse is steady, calm, and strong, yet you insist on putting on a weak act. It seems the 6th princess never told you that I have broad interests and once studied pulse diagnosis. I don't know which imperial physician you bribed, but it doesn't matter. I will investigate step by step and completely root out all of you, this rotten filth.
Su Yue gasped.
Even in her stupidity, she realized that the one who caused her seduction attempt to fail was none other than Su Yue. How could it be? Among the 5 people, Su Yue, the gentlest and closest to her, the one she once thought would be the easiest to seduce, turned out to secretly despise her the most. If I were Shangguan Jin, who would I choose as an insider? The lowest ranked, Lu Feiji and Zhou Shan, are eliminated first. Their families are in decline, yet still influential in court, but the men themselves are stupid and useless. The remaining 3, the Su family holding the highest official positions, the Su family controlling the highest financial power, the Lin family commanding part of the military. Mother Su and my Empress mother are sworn friends who would die for each other. Utterly loyal. I understand Su Xia. The likelihood of him siding with Shangguan Jin is relatively the lowest. I waver between Lin Mingyuan and Su Yue, never daring to jump to conclusions. The Lin family holds military power, so it's hard to rule out divided loyalties. The expenses of Ruishua Palace are suspicious. But the Su family has always strictly adhered to their positions. My Empress mother once privately praised them as law-abiding. I conducted a secret investigation and found no issues in the conduct and behavior of the Minister of Revenue, Lord Su. It seems Su Yue, behind everyone's back, including his own family, secretly conspired with Shangguan Jin. I will announce to the outside that you died of illness. As for maintaining your Su family's relationship, just send another young man over. Su Yue knew there was no turning back. He gritted his teeth, a fierce look flashing across his face, pulled out a dagger hidden under his pillow, and raised it high, stabbing at me. The next second, I turned the tables. I pressed down on him, one hand pinning his wrist, the other raised, and slapped him mercilessly across the face. Do you still think I'm the same useless person I was before? Su Yue angrily said. At a time like this, you still want to scold me? Your Majesty now is a completely different person. Su Yue gritted his teeth and bit his lip, which had been slapped raw. But have you forgotten that since you ascended the throne, you've been lecherous and depraved, neglecting state affairs and turning a blind eye to the common people? You are utterly unworthy of this dragon throne. A dying man. I won't waste my breath explaining. My hand suddenly pressed harder, and he groaned in pain. The dagger he dropped was picked up by me.
Su Yue, what?
Don't kill him. How can you bear to kill such a handsome man?
Sangun Kai sao Tết? Sangun Kai.
If you kill him, I'll die too. I beg you. The tip of the knife hovered over Su Yue's eyeball, just a hair's breadth away. I stopped. Su Yue was insignificant. I had wanted to kill her from the start, but the system on her was intriguing. I had overheard her talking to it. The system once said, "This is a cold weapon era, with only swords, bows, and spears, too backward. Gunpowder hasn't become widespread yet, and even weapons like catapults and crossbows don't exist. If I could use it to create more advanced and powerful military weapons." I put away the dagger. Su Yue, having narrowly escaped death, was almost in tears. You're practically a tyrant, killing everyone at will. I have 0 points now. If they die, I'll die too. Sob sob. Shengguan Kai, you're so cold-blooded. Are you even a woman? Coincidentally, before I ascended the throne, the minister's most common private assessment of me was as cunning as a demon, but cold-blooded and arrogant. Su Yue, let's make a deal. I want her system to serve me. Otherwise. I slowly gestured with the dagger at the man's neck. You know the consequences. Su Yue finally burst into tears. What deal? It's all just you taking from me unilaterally. Moreover, she told me that the system had detached long ago when her mission failed. Now only a shell remained, retaining only the points exchange and search engine functions. She could provide me with something akin to an encyclopedia. I pondered for a moment. Do you have the method for making gunpowder? Let me search. Yes, it requires saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal combined together. There's also a strategy for dealing with leprosy. For plagues, you can decoct Sephora flavescens in water and wash the affected area to alleviate symptoms. The methods for repairing the Water Conservancy project, some of them are truly inspired by the gods. I couldn't help but hold my forehead and burst into laughter. You, Su Yue, who was beneath me, saw me talking to myself and suddenly burst out laughing, extremely eerie. His pupils contracted, as if he realized something. The sudden change in temperament due to illness is false. The rumor that you were possessed is true. You are not the same person as the previous one. Your Majesty. He couldn't help but chatter his teeth and said, "This servant confesses his guilt. I beg you, do not implicate the sixth prince." My mood was excellent, and my tone couldn't help but soften. I will not kill you. Rest assured. I found a torn note in Su Yue's herbal medicine residue. After carefully piecing it together, the writing reappeared. My wife, Jeaner. The emperor is talentless and virtuous, indulged in the harem, his reputation already not as good as yours. Wait until we lose to the Shilling Kingdom, then take the opportunity to raise troops and rebel. Wait for the day you succeed and ascend the throne. I laughed at the sight. Su Yue played dumb and remained silent. My empire was almost ruined at your hands. What you treated as a game guide is my life of flesh and blood. Su Yue, you should be glad you have no body now. I won't kill Su Yue, but that doesn't mean I'll let him go. I'll cut off his limbs and leave him barely alive, just enough to keep breathing. Su Yue, either out of pity for him or fear that he would die in agony, immediately wept and begged me. For my sake, for the gunpowder's sake, please don't be so cruel, okay? I could only regretfully pinch Su Yue's chin, force-feed him mute poison, and sever his hand tendons. He had always claimed to be ill, so it worked out. Guards. Noble consort Su is gravely ill, his throat injured, so he can no longer speak. From today, he will remain in Ruishua Palace to recuperate. That night, the herbal procurement carriage from the Imperial Pharmacy passed by the prince's mansion. When it reached a dim alley beside it, it suddenly stopped. A short man jumped out of the carriage. Sixth Highness. Shengguan Jin, standing against the wall, softly hummed in acknowledgement. She asked, "Has the one in the palace made any new moves?" The man lowered his head and replied tremblingly. In reply, "Your Highness, it's the same as usual." Only then did she show a satisfied expression, calling off the marriage alliance to appease public anger. I originally thought she had improved. It seems it was just a fluke. She's still as foolish as ever. If not for her principal husband handling matters for her all these years, Shengguan Jin pulled a note from her sleeve, opened the carriage as usual, and this time placed it under the Angelica. What is all this? She stumbled back in shock. Inside the carriage, there were no medicinal herbs. Instead, a dazzling pile of gold was stacked high. Hee. I lifted my bamboo hat, revealing a pair of smiling eyes. Isn't this the evidence of your recruitment of soldiers and horses? You driver, talking nonsense. When did I? Shengguan Jin's furious gaze swept over, then abruptly halted. She couldn't help but cry out. It's you. Enemies meet. Face to face, eyes blazing with hatred. Su Yue was furious at the sight of her. I thought she was just a dead green tea bitch, but it turns out she's also a homewrecker. Stinky mistress. I leisurely looked her up and down. 6th Imperial Sister, long time no see. You're still keen on copying me slavishly. From childhood, Shengguan Jin copied my clothes and the way I spoke, wishing she could soul transmigrate into my body like Su Yue did. That jade hairpin on her head is still my old possession. It's actually you. You've returned. A mere scaled insect, even if it mimics the grandeur of the storm, can never ascend to the throne. A stifled laugh escaped my chest, and I said word by word, of all things, you should never have coveted what doesn't belong to you. Her shock and anger slowly turned to despair. She let go of her strength and collapsed to the ground. By now, what else could she not understand? The defeat was certain. Slowly, she let out a self-mocking laugh, growing louder and more frenzied. My imperial sister is still so imposing, she said. She reached up and pulled out the jade hairpin, her long hair tumbling down, her gentle face twisting into a savage expression. You were born clever. When our father the emperor was alive, you were his most favored princess. When your mother killed the emperor, you became the most honored crown princess. Everyone only ever noticed you. And what about me? Your life has been smooth sailing, while I had to kill my own mother, sever ties with my faction, and prove my stance just to survive. I asked, why did my mother kill the emperor, and why did your mother deserve to die? Do you truly not know? Shengguan Jin stared at me darkly. But I think she knew. When my father was on the throne, he was extravagantly wasteful and neglected state affairs. Women's status was extremely low, so low that when a great drought struck and the people had no means to live, they became the backup food for every household. Some died at the hands of their husbands, some at the hands of their sons. Men are the roots of the state, while women only bear children. If they die, no one will give birth, and then with fewer people, there will be more food. This view was exactly what Shengguan Jin's biological mother proposed. Not only was she left unchecked, but she even promoted the opposite, pushing it aggressively. Such a person deserves to die beyond redemption. Back then, my mother, the Empress, saw that you were young and spared your life as an act of leniency. You are sitting securely in your position today thanks to the 10 years of my mother's governance over people's livelihoods and the rise of women's rights. Otherwise, at your age, you would have long been married off as a mere object. If you had been born into an ordinary household in past years, you might even have ended up as food on the dinner table. 6th Imperial Sister, a man's heart is never satisfied, like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Don't be too greedy. I changed my surname to Shengguan to follow my mother. Shengguan Jin swore loyalty to my mother, the Empress, and also changed her surname accordingly. Whatever I have, she wants too, including imperial power. We are both women. Why should you get to sit on the throne while I cannot? She said bitterly. Su Yue is truly useless, a worthless thing. After all that careful planning, he missed the opportunity. I should have killed you myself before you returned to this body. Su Yue was suddenly terrified. Are you sick? The women here don't care for men. Only political power.
What's so good about that? He said dryly.
Outsiders shall not meddle in internal affairs, and imperial clansmen shall not interfere in the palace. You have repeatedly interfered in my harem affairs. According to our dynasty's laws, that counts as disrupting the harem. That is the first. Raising an army. Your intentions are clear. It is the crime of treason. That is the second. Embezzling the state treasury, which is the crime of corruption. That is the third. I shouted coldly, guards. The moment the words fell, several figures leaped down from the eaves, surrounding Shengguan Jin with blades drawn, trapping her so tightly not a drop could seep through. For multiple crimes, Shengguan Jin is stripped of rank and reduced to commoner. I glanced at her enormous mansion, feeling pleased. Shengguan Jin's biological mother had been the richest merchant. She might have secretly left her a substantial fortune. Raiding her home would fill the treasury. She would be executed on a chosen day, all assets confiscated. Shangguan Jin clutched her jade hairpin, smiled through clenched teeth, and said, "Imperial sister, you're quite skilled. Your little sister will wait for you in the underworld." Raising her hand, she chose to take her own life, and blood splattered half a foot away. Su Yue was so appalled by her resolve that she dared not speak for a long time. "You people are, each one crazier than the last." Snowflakes fluttered. The biting cold wind heralded winter's arrival. Draped in a dark fox fur cloak, I leaned on the dragon throne, chin resting on my hand, casting a condescending glance below. "Your subject, Shieling Envoy Jabbar, pays homage to your majesty." "Rise." The burly Western region man paused, looked up at me with a puzzled frown, and remained motionless for a while. I knew he was waiting for me to step down and help him up. Last year, when we sent envoys to establish friendly relations, Su Yue did exactly that. The moment she saw the mountainous Westerner, she almost went weak in the knees and knelt, smiling obsequiously the whole time. It was said that soon after, some gossip began circulating in Shieling. The Northern Empire's female emperor was cowardly and weak, soft-hearted as a woman. That so-called divine nobility is nothing special. Women should just stay home and bear children. What's the point of them trying to rule a country? The height of absurdity. Uft. Jabbar snorted through his nostrils when nobody paid him any attention. "Your Majesty looks radiant today and in good health. Your spine seems straighter than before." Perhaps remembering Su Yue's embarrassment last year, he burst out laughing, the sound jarringly loud in the grand banquet hall. I was not annoyed. The corners of my lips curled slightly as I asked lazily, "What brings the envoy here this time?" "I was rather wondering what your Majesty intends," he replied. "Our leader sincerely wishes to marry a woman from the Northern Kingdom." "Since you neither send one nor state your stance," he said. "Oh, I forgot that the Northern Kingdom is now ruled by women. According to your customs, we should send a man for a marriage alliance instead." Jabal smirked mischievously. "As it happens, our eldest princess has reached a suitable age for marriage, but she has high standards and looks down upon ordinary men. I heard your Majesty has 5 exceptional men in your harem. Why not send one to our Western mausoleum so that our rough folk can see a true beauty?" As his words fell, Lin Mingyuan's expression soured. He set down his wine goblet with a heavy thud. Today, he wore a deep green cloak trimmed with fluffy white fur around the collar, which made his face appear extremely pale and handsome. He muttered under his breath, "Shameless." Several other gazes fell upon me, mixed with worry, hope, and fear. In the past, when I doted on my harem and had eyes only for them, I would never have agreed. But now, Su Yue whispered anxiously in my ear, "You're not really thinking of sending one of them away, are you?" "No, you can't. It seems like a good deal, doesn't it? It protects the dignity of your women and avoids war. This is our leader's final offer. Your Majesty, think it over carefully. Making demands of me?" I remain impassive, rising to my feet. "Then you must defeat me first." The Emperor meant it just like last year. A contest of archery, haha, no problem at all. Su Yue fell silent. Last year she had trembled as she took the stage, and the moment she drew the bowstring, her hands shook and she shrieked. Before the arrow even left the string, she had already lost face. "Wait," Jabal said. "Shooting at a stationary target is too dull. Let's make it more interesting this year." He ordered a peach placed atop a person's head, with the bullseye precisely on that peach. Any mistake could cost a life. The young eunuch's legs trembled with fear. I laughed too. "Then we can make it even more interesting. Replace the person holding the peach with either you or me. Do you dare?" He stroked his chin, probably imagining the scene of me being scared out of my wits, and readily agreed. Su Yue, however, looked anxious. She turned and pleaded, "Your Majesty, ruler of 10,000 chariots, how could you risk danger so lightly? Your servant begs to take your place." Lin Mingyuan quickly knelt behind her. "Your servant also volunteers to take the place." Even Lu Feiji hesitated to speak. Jabbar watched for a while and then said, "Enough, stop dawdling. I'll go first." He proudly swapped for a big peach and tied it to his head with a rope. "Your Majesty, make sure you aim well this time. Don't let it shake off." I drew the bow to its full, the string slowly approaching my jaw, the arrow tip glinting like a star. My gaze was steady, carrying the force of thunder. Jabbar suddenly fell silent, visible tension climbing onto his face. The The first arrow shot out. He immediately sighed in relief and laughed. Missed. At the same time, his attendant nearby screamed and fell, clutching his neck. The feathered arrow was stuck right in the middle of his neck. Jabbar's bear-like eyes glared. But I had already knocked the second arrow, its tip tracking the movement of his head. I said calmly, if the envoy moves again, I will miss again. He was furious, but dared not move, dismissing the previous as luck. Please, Your Majesty, open your eyes wide and shoot straight. I closed one eye, aimed, and released. This time, I hit his knee. I clicked my tongue in a nonchalant manner. Missed again. I notched another arrow, this time hitting the other knee, then the left shoulder, the right shoulder, avoiding vital spots, going symmetrically. Yet the peach on his head remained perfectly intact. The arena echoed with screams, rising one after another. Jabal was already bleeding profusely. He glared at me with hatred and roared with all his might. You did this on purpose. How dare you kill an envoy? Just wait. Our chief will avenge me. Why would I kill you? I gave a faint smile, my eyes full of contempt. Go back and tell your chief. Wash your necks and await execution. That dragon throne of his is waiting for me to sit on. The wind howled bitterly on the city wall. Your Majesty, the Minister of War said, barely containing his excitement behind me. Everything is ready. Military funds are sufficient. The gunpowder and crossbow carts you ordered have all been manufactured. Test results show they are immensely powerful, capable of shattering mountains and splitting rocks. Then Prime Minister Su handed me a booklet. These are the lists of generals from previous years. Please review them, Your Majesty. I opened it, glanced at it, then handed it back. I will lead the campaign personally. They exchanged glances. Prime Minister Su stepped forward, worried. Your Majesty, you are still young. I stood against the wind, letting the cold gusts billow my sleeves, gazing into the distance at the snow-capped peaks stretching endlessly beyond sight. This land under heaven is still vast. A sword is sharpest when first forged, a horse strongest when first fed. Precisely because we are young, this is the perfect time to contend for the realm. My mother, the Empress, carved a path like a phoenix soaring above the 9 heavens. She entrusted this imperial power into my hands, along with countless expectations. So now, it falls to me to expand the borders, unite the land, and forge unparalleled achievements. As my words resounded with finality, everyone immediately knelt in unison. Long live Your Majesty. Your subjects pledge to follow you unto death. Su Yue was stunned. Shengguan Kai, have you lost your mind? The battlefield is merciless, and your ambition is truly too great. All right, I admit it. I'm starting to admire you. The night before my departure, I went to the Perching Phoenix Hall and instructed Su Yue. During my campaign, the Grand Chancellor shall oversee all officials. Officials below the 5th rank may be executed first and reported later. The 6 ministers shall convene at noon each day, and documents can only be issued with joint seals. You only need to handle the affairs of the harem. As the Phoenix consort, you must take care of the other 4. Su Yue is a special case. Just ensure he doesn't die. Su Yue nodded vigorously on the side, while Su Sun lowered his eyes and agreed. I had other matters to attend to. After a few words of instruction, I stood up to leave. Your Majesty, he called out to me, his eyes shimmering like spring water reflecting the moon. He cupped my hand in his and slowly pressed his cheek against my palms. It's been years since you left. When will you return? I don't know yet. His long lashes were slightly damp. He sighed and said, for so many years, Sun has been learning how to be a proper principal consort, restraining myself, adhering to propriety, and keeping the bigger picture in mind. I dared not speak too much or make mistakes. But a human heart is still made of flesh after all. Your Majesty, my wife, won't you stay tonight? Only the 2 of us, just like years ago. Su Sun and I were a young married couple, bound by an unbreakable red thread since birth, childhood sweethearts, growing up together. With family arrangements thrown in, calling us a perfect match was not an exaggeration. My thoughts drifted back to the day of the bloody coup in the palace. Heavy snow fell like goose feathers. I, still very young, was building a snowman in the courtyard. Not far away, flames shot into the sky, and the sounds of clashing and killing never ceased. I looked listless and asked the dazed Su Yue beside me, what are you thinking? He came to his senses, pointed at his temples whitened by snowflakes, and smiled. Standing together in the wind and snow today, this life counts as growing old together. Kyre, I'm happy that we can be together forever. I couldn't help but sigh, my heart filled with bitterness. You've worked hard all these years. Tonight I will stay with you. The next day, under the city wall at the palace gate, a rowdy crowd came to see me off. Lin Mingyuan said urgently, "Your servant grew up in the military, and I request to join the army and accompany you." I rode a tall horse and coldly refused. No. He immediately looked disappointed and crestfallen. Lu Feiji stepped forward and said cautiously, "Your servant has memorized some new books on male virtue. When your majesty returns victorious, I will read them to you in detail." I hummed indifferently. In the wind and snow, his figure appeared overly thin. My eyes narrowed slightly. "Take care of yourself. Better learn some martial arts to protect yourself. Don't die from a common cold." He looked pleasantly surprised. "Thank you for your concern, your majesty." Zhou Shan also came. His eyes were panicked but with a hint of gratitude. "Unexpectedly, your majesty would campaign against shilling for us. Your servant is so moved." He's simple-minded. I can't be bothered to explain. I flicked the reins. "Giddy up." Su Yue said gloomily. "They welcome you with such reverence, making my strategies of those years seem like a joke." Finally, she added with defiance, "I don't think every single one of them genuinely likes you. Obviously, there's more fear. Shengguan Kai, you're not that capable after all." I raised an eyebrow and retorted, "Does it matter?" To her, successful strategies are everything. To me, it's worse than a chicken rib. I have power and a high position. What do I need a man's true heart for? You. I. Obviously, she understood this point. She immediately choked with anger. "Humph. Don't change the subject. Remember to give me a topographic map. The more detailed, the better." "Got it. Shengguan Kai, I feel like I'm your spiritual pet, you know? That is an honor. To be able to stand by my side, sharing honor and disgrace, and together accepting the worship of the world's subjects. It seems," she whispered. "That sounds pretty good." There was a faint sense of anticipation and excitement. I smiled. "Your Majesty just loves to tease me." At present, Attendant Zhou and Attendant Lu are causing a great stir. "Your Majesty, please move to the Orchid Terrace and Jade Tang Pavilion. This matter is urgent." North 24. In the 6th year of Jingji, the Northern Kingdom attacked Xiling and won. In the same year, the Northern Kingdom declared to the world, "Those who do not submit shall be attacked. Those who submit shall be treated with leniency." In the 8th year of Jingji, the Northern Kingdom subdued the eastern frontier. In the 10th year of Jingji, the 5 southern states voluntarily submitted to the Northern Kingdom. In the 12th year of Jingji, 10,000 courts came to pay homage. The world revered the supreme female sovereign, the Northern Kingdom's female emperor, whose might shook the 8 wildernesses, whose achievements spanned a millennium, enough to be inscribed in the annals of history. The end.